Revenge films.
My name is Kelly. I'm a 25-year-old company employee and I live with my parents. I have never lived outside my parents' home, so some people say that I'm sponging off my apartment, but I work hard and put money into that household, so my parents tell everyone that they are proud of me. My parents took great care of me, and I don't have much experience with relationships. I have never even brought a single boyfriend home with me. However, since about 2 years ago, I started dating someone who I met at work. He is the delivery man who often delivers stuff to our office. We were in a secret relationship. My boyfriend Jonathan is 18 years older than me, but he looks very young. He previously took care of me, and he never spent the night with me before we got married. I admired his sincerity and faithfulness. It's been 2 years since we started dating, so I haven't introduced him to any of my friends yet. But when I told my parents about him, they strongly opposed it. I predicted that they would oppose him because of the age, so I thought of persuading them even if it took a very long time. Then one day, a turning point came. He called me, so I went to the cafe where we always go together. To my surprise, he was waiting for me there with a bouquet of flowers in his hands. What's with the bouquet of flowers? My birthday is still a long ways off.
I know that.
Then what's with the bouquet of flowers?
Kelly, will you marry me?
He went down on his knee and showed me the ring.
You are very hardworking, responsible, and family-oriented. I want to make you the happiest woman on earth.
Thank you, Jonathan. Of course, it's a yes, but like I told you before, I need to convince my parents to...
You're right. I will continue to ask for their blessing until they say yes.
Hearing those words, I believed that he would be able to convince my parents. Since that day, in order to convince my parents, we continue to go every week to ask for their blessings. However, we didn't get a nod from my parents. One of the reasons why they didn't give us the blessing was, of course, because he was way older than me. But my mother looked like she doubted him for some reason. Despite that, Jonathan and I didn't give up and continued to ask for my parents' blessings for 2 months.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, please, give me your blessings to marry your daughter.
Dad, please, give us your blessing. That's all I'm asking.
I don't trust an old man who would make a move on a young woman.
What are you saying? Jonathan told me when we started dating that we won't spend the night together until we get married, and he kept his promise. Even now that we've been dating for 2 years, we haven't spent a single night together yet.
Is that so? I will cherish and take good care of Cowrie for the rest of my life, so please, give us your blessing. Really? All right, I understand.
Darling, are you sure you're okay with this?
Yes, but if you ever make my daughter cry, I'll send you running for your life. Thank you very much.
My parents liked his integrity and gave us their blessing. After that, we planned our wedding together. We have decided on a date that works for both of us and our families. Our wedding plan proceeded smoothly at a rapid pace. When Jonathan and I were both checking the invitation cards, I noticed on Jonathan's side of the family there were many children. Hey, Jonathan, don't you think there are too many children on your side of the family?
Oh, those are the children of my relatives.
Is that so? All right. I didn't ask him for further questions, and we finished checking the invitation cards. Then one day, as our wedding day was approaching, we already decided on the wedding day and made the preparations for the wedding. Don't you think it's okay for us to spend the night together now?
Actually, we will register our marriage after the wedding, so I won't spend the night with you until we live together.
What? Why? Are there reasons why you can't spend the night with me?
I don't want to do anything that would betray your parents.
Despite my parents giving us their blessing, he still didn't want to spend the night with me. That's when I started to feel suspicious of him. Then, the wedding day came with a suspicious feeling in my stomach. Many of my family and friends came to the wedding, and they all celebrated my special day full of joy and happiness. However, on the groom's side were only his parents and a few friends, plus 4 children kept running around the hall. Huh? Weren't there more from your side of the family?
Actually, most of them couldn't make it. So...
Really? That's unfortunate. I became more worried about the fact that there were only a few guests who came to the groom's side. But I had no choice but to leave his words. When the wedding reception began, I saw my father started crying. Seeing my father in tears, my friends started to be moved into tears as well. During the middle of the wedding ceremony, our friends started giving speeches. When my childhood friend in elementary school gave his speech, everyone was moved and tears rolled down their cheeks. And when it was the groom's friend's turn to give a speech, one of his closest friends walked onto the stage and stood in front of everyone. Then, at the start of his speech, a shocking statement was uttered.
Jonathan, congratulations on your wedding. I have nothing but respect for the young bride with a huge heart who agreed to raise and take good care of the 4 children, and to her parents who are accepting of your 4 children. Kelly, please, take good care of Jonathan and the 4 children. May you live happily ever after for the rest of your long lives.
Looking at Jonathan's best friend who delivered the speech in tears, the whole wedding venue went silent for a second. When I looked closer at the children, they all looked similar to Jonathan's face. That's when I learned that those children were Jonathan's. Of course I panicked. What? You've got to be kidding me! You have 4 children? I never heard any of this from you! What's the meaning of this?
Oh, I forgot to tell you, but actually, it's true. They are my children. All 4 of them.
Jonathan, you told us that Kelly was okay with the 4 kids. Was that a lie?
Were you thinking of hiding the fact that you have children and marrying her?
Of course, my parents were enraged, and Jonathan's parents didn't know that their son was hiding the fact that he had 4 children. Because of that, Jonathan's parents were enraged by him too. At that moment, the wedding changed from a happy celebration of wedding into pandemonium. Then his parents apologized to me and my family for their son's actions. Despite that, Jonathan tried to cover his lie with another lie.
I thought that if I told you that I had 4 children, I didn't think you would marry me. I don't have any bad intentions, so please, forgive me. You didn't have any bad intentions? Stop messing with my daughter! Did you think that your excuse would work when you deceived her?
My friends stopped my father with all their might as he tried to throw himself upon Jonathan. I thought something was off with this man since I first met him, but I didn't expect it to be this much.
I'm calling off the wedding! Never show yourself in front of my daughter ever again!
We will, of course, ask you to pay for all the wedding expenses. You're the worst! Don't ever contact me again!
Wait a second! Kelly, please, let me raise my children! I thought that you would work hard and cooperate with raising my children, Kelly!
You've got to be kidding me! This is not the right time and place to say that to me.
It's impossible for me to pay for the whole expenses of the wedding! I'm raising 4 children, you know! I could barely afford to raise all of them!
I don't care at all about that.
Please, Kelly, I beg you, marry me!
That's a huge no for me. Later on, I learned that he's been married 3 times, and that he got divorced the same number of times. His first wife took the 2 children with her, so he actually has 6 children in total. He pays for child support too, so he is having financial difficulties. Apparently, he was planning on making me work hard to make money so he could pay for child support, while I earn money for the living expenses. When I learned the shocking truth, I of course called off the wedding and demanded alimony from him. I returned to everyone's monetary gifts and made Jonathan pay for all the wedding expenses. His youngest children was still a 1st grader, so he wasn't able to spend the night outside his house. So I guess that was a sincere reason. But he didn't do it for me. Ever since the wedding was called off, Jonathan kept on apologizing to me, but I couldn't forgive him for tricking me into that situation. For that reason, I decided to let go of him and never get involved with him again. Then, even after using up all his savings, he wasn't able to pay for all the wedding expenses. So he ended up borrowing money from his parents. He had to work away from home in order to pay off his debts. Now he is desperately making money through hard physical work. As a reparation for lying to and hurting people around him, he lost his freedom because of the huge amount of alimony he had to pay me. As for me, I became cautious in love and relationships, by being able to determine those who are serious and sincere or not, so as not to go through a similar path ever again. As a result of that, I met a serious and sincere man. A year after I ended my relationship with Jonathan, my new boyfriend and I are now living together. I hope to be truly happy this time around. I have a 21-year-old sister, and we have quite an age gap. My older sister is very beautiful, and she is always kind to me. Our mother is a very toxic mother. She made my older sister do all the household chores, while our mother was busy playing around with men. There were many nights when our mother did not come home, so my sister took care of me, and she was like a mother in that sense. One day, our mother came home with a different man like she always does. Most of the men she brings home are hopeless men who don't hold proper jobs. I somewhat got used to that, but that day, I had an unpleasant feeling about that man.
Nice to meet you. The name's Keith. You're pretty. What's your name?
My name is Jessica.
Oh, so you're Jessica.
Keith didn't take a look at me at all. Instead, his eyes were glued to my older sister and he smirked. This man is kind of disgusting. That's what I thought when I saw him. It seems like Jessica felt the same disgust as well. Since then, Keith has to come over to our house more often. He usually makes out with our promiscuous mother, but he kept on staring at my older sister. Noticing Keith's stares and feeling disgusted by it, Jessica talked to her mother about it. Mom, that man is kind of disgusting. Please don't take him home anymore. However, our mom replied, Huh? What do you say? This is my house, you know. You don't have a right to request that of me. She didn't listen to Jessica's plea at all. Even after that, Keith continued to come to our home, until a time came where he came to our house without our mother.
Hello, I brought some cream puffs. So let's eat them together.
Our mother is not home right now.
It's okay, it doesn't matter. Since I'm your mother's boyfriend, I'm like a part of your family, right? So let's eat these together.
I'm busy right now, so I can't do that.
Please, don't say that.
Keith was determined to get himself inside the house no matter what. Because of that, my older sister was struggling very much. But despite Jessica saying no, Keith forced his way inside the house. My sister had no choice but to allow him to enter the house and said, All right then, you can come inside the house, but Mary and I are going to run errands, so. She uttered those words and tried to leave.
Shall I go with you? I can send you to wherever you're going.
No, thank you. It's only a few blocks from here, so Mary and I will be fine walking. My older sister saved us by saying those things and taking us away from there. We walked to Alice's house. Alice is my sister's childhood friend. Apparently, Jessica told Alice about Keith. That's why Alice said to us, You can come here anytime. On days when I'm out and the door's locked, I'll leave the window open so you can come back here anytime. Alice allowed us to use her house as an evacuation center. Then one day, our mother told us that she would be going out on a vacation with Keith. A vacation? Where did you even get that money to afford a vacation? If you have the money to afford a vacation, why don't you put extra money into the household? Shut up! I got extra income, so I'll leave the house to you two while I'm away. Without a care, our mother told us that and left with Keith on a vacation. Just like what my sister, Jessica, said, I wanted our mother to put the money into the household, but I was actually glad knowing that the disgusting man wasn't with us. But before I knew it, the vacation was over and our mother and Keith came back home and he said,
Phew, I'm so tired. I should probably spend the night here.
Good idea. You should stay here tonight. Our mother was in a good mood, but my older sister and I were shocked. We were not thrilled at all. In the kitchen, I heard Jessica and our mother talking. Hey, Mom, please tell Keith to go home. To which my mother replied, You don't have a say on whether I let my boyfriend stay in my home or not. Mother ignored Jessica's requests. Keith was staring at Jessica again, so we felt disgusted and went straight into our respective bedrooms. However, the next day, my older sister looked different from usual. She was shaking when she saw Keith while Keith was in a good mood and happily ate breakfast Mom made. I could tell my sister was acting strangely, but I didn't know the reason why. Then Keith went home, but Jessica continued to act strangely. However, the next day, the reason became clear. About half an hour by car away from our house lived our aunt. Our aunt always treats me and Jessica kindly and always worries about us. The reason why we were able to live without our mother's money was because whenever our aunt visited us, she gave us money for living expenses. Our aunt comes over to our house only when my mother is not around. But she noticed that Jessica was acting strangely, so she thought that something might be wrong. That's why she came to talk to Jessica about it. I wasn't able to join in on the conversation, so I listened to their conversation from afar, but Jessica started crying to our aunt about what happened. That night, when Keith stayed at our house, he went into Jessica's bedroom. Jessica heard her bedroom door creak open, and she thought that it was me who went inside. However, since our mother woke up soon after to drink water, Keith went back to the room he was staying at. Hearing those words, our aunt turned pale and was enraged. She always goes back to her house before our mother comes home, but that day, she waited for our mother and bombarded her with questions. However, instead of getting worried about my sister, Mom got angry instead and said, "You tried to take my boyfriend away from me by seducing him! I will never forgive you!" She went crazy and attacked my older sister. However, our aunt strongly slapped her and said, "What are you saying? Seduced your boyfriend? Your daughter almost got raped by your idiot boyfriend! Hurry and go get that stupid boyfriend of yours!" Our mother and aunt continued to fight until Mother ended up calling Keith. The moment he arrived, our aunt immediately bombarded him with lots of questions. However, Keith just laughed like nothing happened and said,
What are you saying? I didn't do anything, you know?
Hearing that lie, Jessica burst into a rage. "You're such a liar! Get a hold of yourself, you pervert!" Tears started rolling down her cheeks as she yelled in anger, but
You might say that, but where's your evidence?
Keith replied calmly. As for our mother, she took Keith's side and said, "That's right, it's all Jessica's imagination. There's no way Keith would betray me." Our mother didn't think about how my older sister felt at all. Both our mother and her boyfriend said that Jessica was just paranoid, and they left the house laughing. My older sister fell down on her knees crying, but our aunt wasn't ready to give up just yet. She asked Jessica, "Let me take a good look at your wrist. Did that man tie you up?" Surprised by the unexpected question, Jessica hid her wrist. However, our aunt held Jessica's hand and soothed her. "He is the worst. I will never forgive him for doing that to you." Then our aunt started checking on the surveillance camera footage. I never thought that I would be using this for such an incident, but I'm glad that I set up a surveillance camera. Our aunt was the one who set up the surveillance cameras all over the house. She placed them at the entrance, in the garden, and also by our rooms. She was worried about us because our mother didn't take care of us, so she set security cameras for our safety. When the three of us checked the security camera footage, the camera was able to capture Keith stealthily creeping into Jessica's room. "With this evidence, we will be able to send that bastard to hell." Our aunt said that and then called the police. A female police officer came along with the male officers. Nothing happened, but I think it was to help Jessica feel at ease. The female police officer kindly talked to Jessica. Then the police officers found rope that Keith used to tie Jessica up. That was also used as evidence. Because of that, Keith was finally arrested. He didn't notice the security cameras and didn't think that there would be one.
I can't believe I got arrested because of a freaking security camera! You've got to be kidding me! I didn't do anything!
He tried to backpedal, but no one believed him because there was pieces of evidence. Then as for our mother, since she neglected us and invited a stranger into our home, she was charged with abandonment and neglect. Another truth was dug up. My older sister made an effort not to use the money that our aunt gave us. She saved us much of the money and used only the necessary amount. She instead put the rest of the money in the bank. Aside from that, our aunt also gave Jessica money for college tuition, so the money amounted to quite a huge sum. However, it was made to light that $30,000 that she put back into the bank was gone. Apparently, our mother wanted some money to use to play around, so she sneaked into my sister's room and tried to steal the money Jessica earned from her part-time work. Instead of finding money, she found Jessica's bank book and stole it. She told us that she got extra money, but it turns out that it was actually Jessica's money. Jessica tucked away the bank book back in the chest drawer, so she never realized that the bank book along with the money was gone. And just like that, Keith and her mother were both arrested. They might be arrested for different charges, but they ended up in prison together. They didn't reflect on their actions at all, and they ended up being sentenced to jail. In the end, our mother looked at us and said, "This is all your fault of the two of you. Why did I have to go to jail? Why?" She yelled, but seeing her brought to jail, my heart felt lighter and refreshed. Our aunt demanded that our mother pay for the money that our mother spent. Thanks to that, all that our mother owned, like the car and the house that she inherited from our grandparents, were all disposed of, and we used the payment for the alimony. After that, our aunt took us in. Jessica and I were a bit hesitant about our aunt taking us in because she has already done so much for us that we didn't know how we could repay her. But she was so kind to us. "Since I am single, I'm very happy to have you two. I feel like I now have two lovely daughters. I look forward to living with you too." My older sister and I were very happy that even though she is our aunt, she treated us like her own daughters. She was more like a mother than a biological mother. Our aunt is single and she is a very hardworking woman with a career. So according to her, she doesn't have financial troubles at all. because of that, my sister and I didn't have to worry about money anymore, even if, God forbid, our biological mother got out of prison. My older sister and I don't plan to meet our mother at all. That's because we already have a very wonderful mother living with us. My name is Emily. After I graduated college, I've been working in the apparel industry. I have a boyfriend of 3 years that I've been dating since college. And we were in a happy relationship without any big problems. Chad was really kind, but he was the type to be everybody's friend. And there were times that I worried whether he was thinking seriously about our future. However, when I communicated that to him, he just said,
Don't worry, it's fine.
and brushed it off positively. So I did my best not to let it bother me. Then one day, as I was walking around town with my boyfriend, we just so happened to run into my parents. He greeted them enthusiastically and they suggested that we should all get dinner together. The 4 of us ended up going straight to a restaurant, and with his friendly personality, Chad was quickly able to get along with my parents. Oh, Chad, you're quite fun to be around.
I get that a lot.
I hope you look after our Emily for a long time.
You're making it sound like we're getting married.
I'm very serious about Emily, and I'd like to get married eventually.
Really now?
Of course! I'm in my 2nd year since moving jobs to a big company, and now that my salary is steady, I was thinking it was about time.
I'm so happy. Thank you, Chad. Well then, we need to introduce him to Jenny too.
Jenny?
Jenny is my twin sister. I've told you about her, remember? I'll introduce you next time.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
After hearing that he was thinking about marriage and saying that in front of my parents, I was so happy and on cloud 9 that I decided to call my sister Jennifer as soon as I got home. When I told her there was somebody that I wanted to introduce her to, she told me she would check her schedule. My sister has a bit of a ditzy personality and is a little shy, but she's actually extremely smart, and as soon as she graduated college, she got a job at a top company. Because of that, her work was really busy and we didn't get to see each other often. Regardless of her situation, when I told her that I wanted to introduce her to my boyfriend, she was really happy for me. She promised that she would adjust her schedule to meet him. A few days later, I got a sudden message from my mom. Hello? What's the matter? Emily, are you with Chad right now? No, I'm not with him, but why? Well, that's good then. After our dinner that day, I thought a lot about it. And when he was talking about marriage, he seemed really nonchalant. Are you sure everything is fine? Oh, really? I think it's pretty normal to think about marriage after 3 years of dating, so it's fine. You've always worried too much, Mom. I don't know about that. My mom's words made me feel uneasy, so I decided to contact Chad right away. Hey, this is about getting married, but
Yeah?
you weren't just saying that nonchalantly, right?
What? Why would you say that? Of course not!
In that case, it's fine, but
I guess I hadn't asked you officially yet. I'm sorry I made you worry. Emily, will you please marry me?
Chad, yes, I would love to. My boyfriend officially proposed to me, so I decided to tell my mom. I thought my worried mom would be able to calm down after this, but even after I told her about the proposal, she didn't seem convinced. What are you so worried about? First of all, you should have met his parents first before moving things along like this. Oh, that's a good point. When I told him what my mom said, Chad said that he would contact his parents to set up a formal greeting. The following weekend, we headed to his parents' house for him to introduce me. Welcome! My, she's so cute.
I'm shocked to see that Chad had such a beautiful girlfriend.
Nice to meet you. My name is Emily.
Emily and I are thinking about getting married.
Really? I never thought the day would come that I would have a daughter. Emily, we look forward to welcoming you to the family. I am looking forward to it as well.
We hope you can relax here. Please, make yourself comfortable, as if it were your own home.
His parents were both very friendly, and perhaps because they didn't have any daughters, they seemed to take a liking to me, and we exchanged contact information. His parents approved of our marriage, so we were finally able to start discussing things realistically. When I told my parents about this, They said that we should all have dinner together to celebrate, including my sister. It seemed like my worried mom was finally convinced, and I was also relieved. A few days later, I brought Chad with me back to my parents, and my mother was waiting for us with a huge feast prepared. Apparently, my dad was really looking forward to having a drink with Chad, and he was in a great mood. Wait, what about Jenny? She said she has work until late today, so she's pretty busy. I feel bad for her.
You mean your sister?
Yeah, she's so busy with work, I don't really get to see her much. Oh, but she said that she would definitely come today no matter what. I hope she can get here soon. Me too. Before my sister arrived, we ate and drank, and were all in great spirits as we discussed the wedding. As we were talking about the ceremony, Chad suddenly pulled out a small box. When I opened the box, there was a ring. I was so touched by his surprise that tears came streaming down my face. Seeing my happiness, my parents were also touched with me.
Chad, please take good care of my daughter.
Of course. I will love Emily, and Emily only, for the rest of my life.
Thank you.
I'm home! Oh, look, it's Jenny. Welcome back. The moment my sister opened the living room doors, Chad's face froze. Nice to meet you. I'm Emily's sister, Jennifer. Wait, Chad? What are you doing here?
What? Wait, is this your twin sister?
Yeah, that's my sister Jennifer. You two know each other? Chad was clearly acting weird, and as I was getting more worried, my sister opened her mouth first. I don't really think you should marry this person. What? Where is this coming from? What do you mean?
Jennifer, don't say anything!
Jennifer? Well, let me say this. For the sake of my precious sister, that person is my boyfriend! What are you saying? You are two-timing us! You're the worst!
No, the only one I love is you, Emily! You have to believe me!
So, are you saying that you were playing around with my sister?
That's not what I'm saying!
So does that mean you proposed while still two-timing? Unbelievable!
What exactly is going on here? You better explain yourself.
My sister and I were fraternal twins. So not only did our faces not look alike, but our personalities and fashion tastes were completely opposite. Because of that, he seemed to have zero recognition that we were twins. My parents were furious as they demanded him for an explanation, and it was revealed that he didn't realize that Jennifer and I were sisters, and he was two-timing us. Not only that, but he started two-timing back in college, and it's been over 2 years. When he was having a hard time finding a job, my sister, who was working at a top company, introduced him to a business partner, and that's how he was able to get a job at his current company. When I heard this excuse, that's why he wasn't able to break up with her, I was livid. Not only did he betray me, he had also used my sister, and there was no way I would ever forgive him. My parents eventually kicked him out of the house, and even after that, Chad tried to contact me multiple times to apologize. However, I had no intention of forgiving him, and instead, I contacted his parents. I informed them of the entire situation, and that there would no longer be a wedding. When they heard that, of course they were furious as well, and they said that they disowned him and told him to never come back to their house ever again. Then I sued him for the emotional distress caused by the destruction of our engagement, and I collected a settlement fee. He paid the highest settlement fee with tears in his eyes, and eventually he finally gave up on trying to get back with me. On top of that, my sister informed his company about his two-timing shenanigans. It became a big problem that he caused trouble with the top company, and the rumors spread immediately. He was ostracized at work and eventually had no other choice but to resign. After losing his fiancé, his girlfriend, his parents, and his job, Chad was no longer able to pay rent, and he was kicked out of his apartment. He contacted me that he wanted me to return the engagement ring so that he could sell it, and I felt pity for him and decided to send it back. That was the end of it, and I blocked him after that, so I didn't know what happened to him later. Being betrayed by the person that I loved and dated for so many years, it was a big blow for me, but I can't stay down forever, so I planned on getting back on my feet and finding a true partner. My sister felt the same way, so the two of us started participating in single meetups together. Neither of us ever wanted to repeat that experience. So we are both being very careful as we look for our own partners.
I was already once divorced when I married my wife. I had a son and a daughter with my ex-wife. And the reason for our divorce was my wife's affair. My ex-wife didn't bother apologizing to me. She was too busy, enjoying her new family with her cheating partner. Of course, I collected a settlement fee from them, but that didn't make me feel better one bit. The most difficult part of all, though, was that for some reason, my ex-wife, who was the one that cheated on me, gained full custody of our children. This was because, even if I were to take them in, I had a lot of business trips and overtime, so I wouldn't be able to look after the children properly. On the other hand, her new partner had a steady salary, which would allow my ex-wife to always be home as a full-time housewife. That's why the court decided that the kids would have a more stable life living with them. I was never able to come to terms with this, but there was nothing I could do about it. After that, my ex-wife got married to the man she was cheating on me with, and my children lived there. I was able to see the kids every now and then, but because they already had a new dad at home, we weren't able to get that close. After having my wife and my children stolen by this guy, I wanted to die and had no will to live. That's when I met my current wife. I was recently traumatized by what happened with my ex-wife, so I didn't think I would ever date another woman, much less get married again. But Kelly became somebody I couldn't live without, and we got married. And 1 year later, she was pregnant with our child. I was completely overwhelmed with love for our little baby. My ex-wife was always into flashy, expensive clothing, but my current wife was the type who prefers to wear clothes that may be cheap, but are more functional. Whether it be raising a child, or anything at all, her motto was to always have fun. So even when our baby was screaming and crying, she would call her parents to vent, or she would invite her friends over and ask about their experience. I could tell that she was genuinely enjoying being a mother. Seeing my wife live her life like this every day made me become more positive too. That's why I was full of happiness. However, as I was living my life on cloud 9, my ex-wife and her new husband died in an accident. Apparently they were run over by a truck while they were going out shopping together, and I heard they were pronounced dead on the scene. Of course, I was never able to forgive my ex-wife, but I never once wished for her to die. It's not that I was sad, but it happened so suddenly that I couldn't deny I was shaken. When I got the call, I rushed over to their house, and the children jumped into my arms. After the funeral, of course, everybody was talking about who was going to look after the kids, but both my ex-wife and her partner's parents were already in nursing homes, and there was simply no way they could take care of them. None of the other relatives wanted to take them in either. Some people said they could maybe take one of the two, but it didn't seem right to split the siblings up after losing their parents. Although they were both so young, apparently my two children had been thinking about what was going to happen to them, and they said to me,
We want to go to your place, Dad.
to be honest, I didn't know what to say. I already had my new family with my current wife, and our baby was just born. Not to mention there was no way my wife would be happy about this. But I still loved my children, with tears streaming down their faces.
We want to live with you, Daddy. I promise we won't complain about anything. All you have to do is let us borrow a room. As soon as we're done with the compulsory education, we'll leave immediately.
I didn't want to just leave my children like this. I didn't know what to do. So that day, I had one of the relatives look after the kids, and I went back to my house. When I got back from my ex-wife's place, Kelly looked really worried as she welcomed me home. She knew that we got divorced because of my ex-wife's affair, and she also knew that I had 2 children with her. When I told her about the accident, the first thing Kelly asked was,
So, what's going to happen to your 2 children?
As my current wife, of course she would be worried about that. Before we even spoke, my mind was filled with words and images of Kelly rejecting my children from my previous marriage, and I was at a loss for words. However, there was no running away from this issue at hand. And I also couldn't change the fact that I was their father. I finally gave in and began to tell her what happened. No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't choose between my children and my current life. Until my ex-wife and I got divorced, those two were most definitely my kids. Ever since they were born, I changed countless diapers, and I spent many sleepless nights trying to calm down their crying. That being said, I knew that that wouldn't mean my wife would accept it. That's why I just told my wife how I felt to begin with. However, without any hesitation, my wife said,
Sure.
And that was that.
This little one is still a baby, so she probably won't understand much. And before we know it, I'm sure she'll be calling them her brother and her sister. Plus, because she's so little, I think we should naturally be able to become a family. If anything, it's probably better that we take them in now.
What? Are you sure? We're suddenly going to have 2 more kids, you know.
Your ex-wife's affair has nothing to do with the children, right? Not only that, but the children lost their mother. And if you were to decline taking them in, that means they're going to end up in an orphanage, right? Our baby and those 2 kids are your children. Don't you think that it would be wrong for the 2 of them to end up in an orphanage?
I never could have imagined that my wife would react this way. I felt an enormous weight lifted off of my shoulders and embarrassingly began to cry.
All right. Now that it's decided, you need to hurry up and go get them. I'll start preparing a room for the 2 of them. Oh, just so you know, your game room is going to be gone.
With that, I knew that I could rely on Kelly for anything. I went to go get my 2 children, and I brought them home to meet Kelly, who said,
My name is Kelly, and we're going to be living together starting today. Nice to meet you both.
and she shook their hands. From there, my wife didn't try to act like their mother. She simply supported them to slowly get closer. That being said, after losing both of their parents, the children kept to themselves for a while. However, in the same way I was saved from rock bottom after being cheated on by my ex-wife, I could tell that just by interacting with Kelly, the children were slowly getting their smiles back. Then one day, my daughter tried to call out for my wife and accidentally slipped.
Mom.
My wife's face lit up, and she smiled and said,
Yeah, I would be happy if you called me your mom. I want to be your mom too.
After that, my children started calling my current wife Mom. And even though they weren't biologically related, my wife scolded and loved the two as though they were her own children. As my children started calling her Mom, it started to feel like we were a real family. The days and years went by, and our bond as a family only got deeper. When it came time for the two of them to go to college, after we held a celebratory party for them, the two of them read us a letter. My wife and I were both taken by surprise. In the letter, they wrote that when they were younger, they always wanted to see me, but because we were living apart, they weren't able to tell their mom. That when my ex-wife died, they were so terrified that I would choose my current family and leave them behind. That even if they could live here, that they thought my new wife might hate them and be mean to them, but instead, how happy they were that she told them she wanted to be their mom too. With tears in her eyes, my daughter read us this letter, filled with their thoughts, past and present, as they shared their gratitude before they left for college. From the moment she started reading the letter, I was sobbing so much that I didn't know if I was listening to my daughter's voice or my own sniffles. When I looked to my side, Kelly was crying even harder. Hearing their words felt like we were being told that the decision that we made back then, that the love and warmth that my wife gave to my children, none of it was wrong. And I was so overwhelmed with happiness.
Come on, if you're going to cry, Mom, it's going to make me cry out, so cut it out. Mom's a crybaby.
You're the ones who made us cry.
Yo, Dad, you have snot dribbling down your face. Use this. That's because you guys said all those things to make me cry like this. The two of us wrote it together with Jenny. My sister was always saying that she wanted to thank Mom all these years. The only reason the two of us were able to get this far is thanks to you guys, Mom and Dad. It's a parent's duty to take care of their kids. But thank you. Your mom is really happy too. Next to my son and me were my wife and my daughter, who were still crying. When my ex-wife cheated on me and took the kids, I fell into a depression so deep I wanted to die. But then I met Kelly, and we had our own child, and I was able to regain a great happiness in my life. But then, after that, my ex-wife died, and I was anxious that by taking in my 2 children, I would have to part ways with my new life. I can no longer count the number of times I've been saved by my amazing wife, and I'm sure my kids feel the same way. A lot of time has passed since then, but right now, I feel the happiest I've ever been in my life, with my beautiful family.
My name is Ariel, and I'm 24 years old. People are often surprised to know that I'm still living with my parents. My parents get along really well, and they never argue. Because of this, we are a happy family of 3. But there is someone that is jealous of my situation, and her name is Melanie. Melanie and I are colleagues at work. She stood up because she was so beautiful. Melanie lives by herself, and she is envious of the fact that I still live with my family and that we all get along. One day, Melanie asked me if she could come over to my house. I talked to Melanie at home, so my parents have heard about her, and they told me that she was more than welcome to come over. I decided to invite Melanie to our house, and we gave her a warm welcome. My mother spent hours cooking a nice meal for Melanie, and my father went out and bought the finest wines. We all had a great time with Melanie. Melanie told us that we were a lovely bunch and that we had a beautiful home. After that, Melanie came over to our house frequently. One thing that struck me as odd was that she had a sudden interest in my father. She asked me a lot of questions about him.
Did your father work as a model when he was younger? He's so good looking.
Oh no, he could never be a model. But I guess he's pretty good looking.
I see. Well, now I know where you got your good looks from.
I was used to having people tell me that my father is attractive because he really is. I assumed, like many of my other female friends, Melanie had a small crush on my father. A few days after Melanie came over, Melanie sent me a text message by accident that she had meant to send to my father.
I'm so looking forward to our weekend trip together. I can't wait. I miss you so much.
I was sickened by the fact that Melanie was acting like my father's girlfriend. I was shocked by this text message because I knew how much my father loved my mother, and I didn't think he was the type of man to have an affair. I was so angry with Melanie because she had been coming over to my house under false pretenses. Many people looked up to my parents because they got along so well, and people would say that they were perfect for one another. I knew that Melanie must have tried hard to get my father's attention. He was not one to go looking for trouble. I felt bad for my mother, who cooked such nice meals for Melanie each time that she came over to our house. I now had a reason to believe that my father was cheating on my mother, but I tried to act like everything was normal. But every time that I spoke to my father, I wondered when he was lying and when he was telling the truth. I felt uncomfortable being around him, so I started to go out drinking with my friends every night.
Ariel! I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. What's keeping you so busy?
I've been busy with work, and this busy schedule is going to continue for some time.
I hope that you're not dating someone and keeping it a secret from us. If you are, we'd love to meet him.
Look, I'm not comfortable discussing private matters with you. Please don't ask me if I'm seeing anyone or not. Ariel, why are you being so cold to your father? He's only worried about you. My mother was totally clueless, and I felt sorry for her. Aren't you going to say something, Ariel? Just leave me alone, okay? I need some space. I don't understand the sudden change in behavior. Are you stressed out about work?
Ariel.
I wasn't sure whether I should tell my mother about my suspicions or not. But then I received another text from Melanie, which she was supposed to send to my father instead of me. I couldn't take it anymore.
Please don't tell Ariel and her mother about last night.
When I thought about it, my father had come home late last night, which made me even more suspicious. I was now fairly certain that Melanie and my father were having an affair. I was furious with my father, and I couldn't keep quiet any longer. I had a private conversation with Melanie at work and confronted her about my father. What's going on between you and my father? You sent me 2 text messages by mistake implying that you two are having an affair. How could you?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to see those messages.
And then she left me standing there by myself. When I got home, my father greeted me with a smile as usual. I couldn't stand it anymore.
Hey! Nice to see you home early tonight. I made some fried chicken for dinner tonight. Your favorite.
How could you be so cavalier? I know that you're having an affair with Melanie.
What are you talking about? Are you crying?
I can't believe that you would cheat on Mom. You're despicable. My father tried to calm me down and told me that this was all a huge misunderstanding. I then showed my father the 2 text messages that Melanie had sent to me by mistake. He told me that Melanie must have made this up. Because I had raised my voice, my mother came into the living room concerned. What are you 2 arguing about? There's no need to yell. Ariel, calm down and tell me what's going on. In tears, I told my mother about what happened with Melanie, but that my father had said something totally unexpected. You're talking about last night, right? Your father and I went to a late-night drive, so he couldn't have been seeing Melanie behind my back. Your father is telling the truth. It looks like Melanie is concocting a story to make us fight. I guess that makes sense. I didn't think that it was in Dad's nature to cheat on you.
That's right. I would never cheat on your mother. I love her too much. We went for a drive to see the night view of the city, and it was stunning.
Oh, okay. I'm relieved to hear that. Your father was so worried about you. You've been coming home late these days, so he thought that you were dating a guy that you couldn't introduce us to. So, we drove over to your office after to see if we could see you there.
You 2 are crazy. I'm not hiding anything from you.
We saw you come out of your office with 2 female colleagues, and so your dad was relieved and we drove home after that. But we did make a stop by the beach. That's why we didn't get home until late last night.
I was coming home late every night because I thought my dad was having an affair, and I didn't want to face him.
Well, you have nothing to worry about. Your father was with me the entire evening last night.
I was glad to know that my father wasn't having an affair with Melanie.
I showed the text messages that I received from Melanie to both my parents this time. My father then showed me his phone as well to let me know that he didn't have Melanie's phone number in his contact list. The profile picture of his chat app was one taken with my mother. I now knew that Melanie had made this up to hurt my family and I. I was furious. After talking it over with my family, we decided to invite Melanie over to our house one more time. Melanie had no idea we had already made up as a family. After welcoming her into our house, I asked her about the 2 text messages regarding my father. I also told her that I had already checked my father's phone and made sure that he didn't have her number in the first place. Melanie, you need to explain yourself. Why did you do this?
I would never cheat on my wife. I'm happily married to her. What you did was very hurtful, and we're very disappointed in you.
I have no idea what Ariel is talking about. She must be making all of this up.
Then show us your phone.
Fine, here you go.
When I opened the chat log in Melanie's phone, I saw who Melanie had been in touch with. Melanie took her phone back from me. She admitted that she only pretended to be having an affair with my father, and that it was all a lie. Just as I had predicted, Melanie had a crush on my father, and she wanted to make me think that she was having an affair with my father. She was hoping that by tricking me, I would tell my mother about the affair and that my mother would divorce my father as a result. She sent those fake messages on purpose to get me to think that my father was having an affair with her. The day that she sent me one of the messages, she saw my father talking to his manager and realized that he was going to be working late. She took this opportunity to make it look like my father was spending the evening with her. Now that we have the full story, my family and I were livid with Melanie. Melanie, how could you do this to us? We graciously invited you into our home.
You made my daughter question my love for my wife, and that is unforgivable!
I'm very sorry. Please forgive me.
I'm not going to be able to forgive you for what you did to us. My mother was so kind to you.
Ariel, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry.
May I say something? Of course, no need to hold back. I never felt anxious because I completely trust your father. He would never cheat on me. He's not like that.
You're the only woman that I love, sweetie.
Melanie's plan to ruin our family ended up as a big failure. We then asked Melanie to go home and regret the choices that she made. But there was one more thing that was still bothering me. When I had looked into the chat app of Melanie's phone, I saw that she was in touch with a married man from work. I could tell from the messages that she was having an affair with this man. The next morning at work, I went to see my manager and told him about what I saw. The manager told me that this was not the first time that someone had come to him with something like this. As a result, he decided to carry out an internal investigation to see if Melanie was having an affair or not. A lot of information came out about Melanie's affair with a married man, and it had become a huge issue. Melanie was fired from her job, and her lover was sent out to work at another office. I found out later that Melanie liked to have affairs with married men, and this was not her first time. I hoped by losing her job, she would regret her past decisions and not make the same mistake again. Now that Melanie is out of my life, I went back to living happily with my parents. I won't ever forget Melanie for what she did to my family, but I was glad to know that my parents' marriage is even stronger than ever. When I find the right man, I hope to have a very happy marriage life like my parents. My name is Ria, and I'm married to my husband Ted, and we have a daughter named Ariel together. Ted and I first met in college. We've known each other for a long time. Before we had Ariel, we used to spend a lot of time together on the weekends. But after Ariel was born, we were both so busy and didn't have much time to go out like we used to. I was busy taking care of Ariel, and Ted was really busy with work. He worked late and on the weekends. He would leave me to take care of Ariel by myself to go out and do things on his own as he pleased. I was pretty upset about this because I thought he would be more involved in taking care of our daughter. I tried talking to Ted about this, but he told me that work was keeping him really busy and he needed time to chill by himself on the weekends. He even said that I was being selfish for wanting more support from him when it came to raising Ariel. Recently, he's been going on a lot of business trips as well, and there are times when I didn't see him for days. And when he was home, he told me how tired he was and was always in a bad mood. I didn't want to argue with him anymore, so I didn't say anything to him about how I felt about our current relationship. The one thing I couldn't handle were his mood swings. Whenever he was in a bad mood, he would take it out on Ariel and I. That wasn't fair. Hi, you're home early tonight.
Hi, Daddy.
I'll make some dinner, so could you wait here for a while?
I'm not hungry.
Oh, I see.
I don't have an appetite.
Well, do you want to snack on this then?
What the hell is this?
These are some ham cutlets. I made them for Ariel tonight. She said that they were delicious.
Didn't I just tell you that I'm not hungry?
For some reason, Ted got really angry when I offered him some ham cutlets. He threw the dish onto the floor and made a huge mess. Ariel began to cry because she was scared by her father's behavior, and I didn't blame her. Why would you do such a thing? You made Ariel cry!
It's because you won't listen to me. Don't try to make me eat when I'm not hungry. I'm really tired from work. I'd appreciate it if you didn't talk to me and just left me alone. I'd like some peace and quiet.
Fine, we'll leave you alone, but stop shouting!
You don't understand because you're just a housewife. I'm the one providing for this family, and you should treat me with more respect. I'm allowed to shout if I want to. If you don't like living with me, you two can move out. I won't care.
Mommy, I'm scared.
Don't worry, Ariel. Mommy is here to protect you.
Don't make me look like the bad guy here. You don't understand how hard I work for this family.
I picked up Ariel and took her to her bedroom. I was furious with Ted for his superior attitude. He wasn't like this when we first got married. I spent the night in Ariel's bedroom. The following morning, I saw that Ted had eaten some ramen noodles and had been drinking. He hadn't bothered to clean up the mess that he created in the living room. Ted had also thrown out the ham cutlets that he had thrown onto the floor the night before. I was deeply hurt by his words and actions. Things between Ted and I worsened as time passed. I considered moving out. I wasn't happy at all. One weekend, Ted left the house early, telling me that he needed to go into the office. I decided to go out with Ariel for some ice cream and shopping. On our way home, I happened to see Ted at a stylish open cafe with a woman that I didn't recognize. I wasn't sure if it was a work meeting or not, but I had a bad feeling. I decided to see where they were going to go after they finished having coffee. After they left the cafe, Ted and the woman started walking in a different direction. I continued to follow the woman and saw that she went inside the office building where Ted works. I now knew that this woman was a colleague of Ted's. Something in my gut told me that the two of them were having an affair. If this was true, I was going to divorce Ted right away and ask him for alimony and child support payments. I wasn't happy in this marriage anyway. I was looking for a way out. All I needed to do now was to find evidence that they were in fact having an affair. from that day on, I spent my free time trying to catch Ted and the woman in the act. While Ariel was at kindergarten, I went to Ted's office and spied on him. I was waiting for the right opportunity to come, and it wasn't so easy. I spent days stalking out in front of Ted's office building, but I hadn't been able to gather any evidence. Ted had no idea that I was spying on him, and he continued his act. He told me how busy he was at work and took it out on Ariel and I, but I no longer cared. I was determined to divorce him, and I was going to make sure that he paid for his bad behavior. 2 weeks after I began my stakeouts, I saw the woman come out of the office building. She didn't seem to be feeling well as her face was pale and she had to sit down to rest. I became worried about her condition and decided to ask her if she was okay. The woman didn't seem to know that I was Ted's wife. The woman asked me if I could accompany her to the hospital. I agreed to go with her. I wasn't going to be able to pick up Ariel from kindergarten on time, so I asked my mother to pick her up instead. My mother offered to take care of Ariel for the night, so I texted Ted to let him know that Ariel and I would be staying with my parents. I no longer needed to rush home and thought that this was the perfect opportunity to get to know the woman better. The woman rested at the hospital, and I waited until she woke up and felt better.
Thank you for all your help. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I hope that you're feeling better now. The woman began to cry loudly. Are you all right? The woman was about to confide in me when I heard someone come into her hospital room. I could tell from the person's voice that it was Ted.
Did you get the abortion as planned? Was $1,000 enough? My wife is staying with her parents tonight. You can come over and stay with me if you want. I'll make sure to use protection this time. I promise.
I finally understood what was going on, and I was livid. I wasn't going to forgive Ted for what he has done. Ted, it's me, Rhea. Ted opened the curtain and was shocked to see me standing next to his lover. He was clearly agitated.
Rhea? What are you doing here? Where's Ariel?
Don't try to diverge the conversation. The woman realized what had happened, and she began to apologize to me profusely. As for Ted, he panicked and started making a lot of stupid excuses.
Rhea, I had no choice. This woman was very persistent, and I couldn't say no. This isn't my fault.
How can you say that? This is clearly your fault. You're an asshole, and I'm going to divorce your sorry ass.
A divorce? Are you kidding me? How are you going to live without me? You don't have a job.
Well, now that I'm certain that you cheated on me, I'm going to sue you. I prepared the divorce papers right away. The following morning, I left the signed divorce papers on the living room table and moved out of the house, taking Ariel with me. I was going to stay with my parents until the divorce was finalized. I hired a lawyer and asked Ted to pay me alimony and child support.
Don't you think that you're being rash about this? We should talk about this before you make a decision that you'll regret.
I have nothing to say to you, and I've made my mind up about divorce. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. My parents are really upset about what you did to me, and they don't ever want to see you again.
Aren't you grateful for the fact that I've been supporting you financially all these years? Is this how you're going to thank me?
You disgust me. Don't call me ever again.
Rhea, wait! Give me a chance to fix this!
After meeting with my lawyer, Ted agreed to pay me alimony and child support, and our divorce was finalized. I'm going to live with my parents for a while and use the money that I got from Ted for my living expenses. Because I told Ted's manager about what he had done to his lover, he was fired. His lover's parents were furious with Ted as well, and they sued him too. Ted was now broke after paying everyone for what he owed. He was having trouble finding a new job, and his family and friends avoided him after they found out about what he had done. I'm no longer in touch with Ted, but I heard a rumor that after he broke up with his lover, he became an alcoholic and gambling addict. He went into a lot of debt and spent his days hiding from debt collectors. Ted's ex-lover continues to send her apologies through letters, but I couldn't get myself to forgive her. I also sued her for my emotional suffering. Ted's affair wasn't the only reason for our divorce, and I'm much happier now that he's out of my life. I can now concentrate on Ariel's happiness and will endeavor to create a household full of laughter. My husband and I both work full-time. I've been wanting kids for a while, but one of my biggest concerns was the fact that my husband was a big spender. Children cost a lot of money, so if we wanted to be parents, my husband needed to learn to be frugal. I figured that if I made enough money to raise our children, it wouldn't be such a big problem, but it still worried me. I was already 30 years old and felt like time was running out, and I really wanted kids. I talked about having kids with my husband many times, and we also talked about how much money it was going to cost us to raise children. Each time we talked, my husband promised that he would watch his spending, but after a few days, he'd forget the promise that he made and begin to spend money on slot machines and whatnot. What are you going to learn that your spending is going to bankrupt us eventually? I set a monthly budget for you, remember? You can't spend beyond the budget.
You don't give me enough money. How am I supposed to have fun with the slot machines on such a small allowance?
Don't you think that it could be nice for us to save some money for children so that I could eventually quit my job to take care of them? I'm 30 and I'm desperate to become a mother. But with your spending, I can't go through with it. It worries me. I mean, don't you want to become a father as well?
Eventually, but not right away. I like my life the way that it is now.
But I'm not getting any younger.
You're only 30. You still have plenty of time.
I may be 30 now, but before you know it, time will pass. We need to work on your spending now if you want a brighter future together.
Okay, fine. I'll be careful with my spending. Happy now?
My parents-in-law were eager to have grandchildren as well, so they helped me persuade my husband. They lectured my husband about his lousy spending habits, but my husband still wouldn't listen. I earned more than my husband, so my mother-in-law was also worried about me quitting my job. She was concerned that we wouldn't have enough money as a family if I didn't have my job. I'm sorry that my son is so unreliable. I know how much you support him both emotionally and financially. I regret not educating him better about money and spending. I'm training him to see that he's wasting his money, but he just doesn't seem to get it. I sometimes considered leaving my husband, but I didn't have the confidence to start over again at my age. It wasn't easy to find a new love. I was starting to worry that we would never be able to raise kids together. One day, my parents came for a visit to our house. I bought a lot of lottery tickets the other day. I'm gonna give you 10 of my tickets for good luck. I'm not interested in the lottery, and I had never bought tickets myself. To be honest, I thought that they were a waste of money. I had put away the tickets that my mother gave me and forgotten all about them. One day, at the announcement of the lottery winners, my mother texted me to let me know the results would be out. How were the lottery tickets? Did you win anything? Mine were all losing tickets. After I hung up the phone, I got my lottery tickets out to check the results. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that I had won $10. It's not a large amount, but I'm happy that I had a winning ticket. I called my mother back to let her know that I won $10. Wow, that's great, honey. $10 is not bad for your first try. Yes, I'm happy that I won. Thanks, Mom. My mom and I had a fun time talking about the lottery tickets, and it cheered me up. That evening, my husband came home and told me something very surprising. Why do you have a new set of car keys?
I bought a new car. Do you want to see?
My husband then showed me a photo of his new car. How could you buy a new car without telling me first? That's a really big purchase, and you shouldn't go buying things like that without consulting me first. I'm your wife.
Don't be so stingy. Look, I got a new watch too. Isn't it so nice?
How were you able to afford a car and a watch?
I got a loan for the car, and I bought the watch with my credit card.
I can't believe this. After all the talks we had about taking good care of our money.
Hey, you had a winning lottery ticket, and you didn't say anything to me about it either.
I had no idea when my husband was making such a big deal about my lottery tickets. I only won $10.
I overheard you talking to your mother earlier. You said that you won $100,000 from the lottery.
Yes, but the amount I won was only $10. I was happy that I won, but not that amount.
Don't lie to me! Who would be so happy to win $10? You just wanted to hide the money from me. I'm sure of it.
I was happy because I won. I wasn't expecting to, but it's only $10. My mom spent more money buying the tickets in the first place. I now understood why my husband had assumed that I had $100,000 from the lottery that had gone shopping for expensive items the minute that he found out.
It's your fault for making me think that we won a lot of money.
I was more than annoyed by my husband's words. He was trying to blame me for his irresponsible actions. I've had enough of your reckless spending. I want a divorce.
What the hell? Aren't you being a little over the top here?
I ignored him and gave my parents-in-law a call. I told them about what happened, and they told me that they were coming over to our house to have a talk with their son. How could you go and buy a new car and watch without consulting Karen first?
That was very unreasonable of you. I knew you were stupid, but I thought you were better than this. I'm so disappointed in you.
Look, this isn't my fault. Karen gave me the wrong idea that she had won a lot of money from the lottery. Even if you had thought that, it wasn't your money to spend in the first place. What were you thinking?
I then looked over to my husband's parents and told them how I was feeling. I'm sorry, but I can no longer continue to be married to your son. I've had enough. I had always dreamed of starting a family with my husband, but I realized that it was impossible. I had no choice but to end our marriage. I couldn't bring our kids into this world knowing that my husband was a reckless spender. It wouldn't be right.
What if I say no to the divorce? This is a decision that we need to make together. How can you say such a thing after you've made so many decisions without consulting Karen first? Because you were such an unreliable husband, Karen has been coming to us whenever she has issues with you. We all warned you about your spending, but you didn't want to listen. I can see why Karen would want to leave you.
I want Karen to be happy after all these years that she put up with you. You need to let her go.
Why are you taking Karen's side? You're my parents!
I've made up my decision about the divorce, and you can't change my mind. I'm going to get myself a divorce lawyer so we can talk through them from now on. I'm going to sue you for all the times that you put pressure on me to work hard and earn money for the two of us.
Karen, I'm sorry. I finally understand how much of a strain my spending has been on you. I promise to change. I mean it this time. You make more money than I do. I need you in my life.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Grow up and learn to stand on your own 2 feet.
That's right. You shouldn't have been so dependent on Karen in the first place.
I was an idiot for believing that you wanted to change for the better. I was so wrong.
I'll send you the divorce papers when they're ready. Bye now.
Wait! How am I supposed to pay back the loan on my car? I can't do it on my own!
After that, my husband and his father got into a fist fight. Yet I was so long gone by then. Soon after, my divorce was finalized and I began to receive alimony payments from my ex-husband. My ex-husband had spent $30,000 on his new car and $20,000 on slot machines. And with the cost of his new expensive watch, he was in deep debt. But neither of his parents nor I cared. He was on his own.
This is all your fault, and you need to take responsibility for it. We won't be helping you out. Now leave!
My husband had no choice but to work really hard to pay back his debts. After he finished his day job, he had to work night shifts at a convenience store to make ends meet. He rented out a shabby old apartment in a bad neighborhood. A mutual friend of ours happened to bump into my ex-husband, and he told me later that my ex-husband had changed so much that he was unrecognizable. I was single again and had given up on meeting a new man or having children of my own. But to my pleasant surprise, I met the perfect man at work 3 years later. We hit it off right away and started dating. After a while, he proposed to me and we got married. We both wanted kids right away, so we didn't wait. I was lucky enough to get pregnant right away.
Karen, our daughter is beautiful. I can't wait for our new life to begin. I'm going to work hard to provide for our family. You can count on me. I'm the luckiest man alive to know that you two will be waiting at home for me every day.
My husband was kind and intelligent, and most importantly, he kept his promises. He worked hard and made enough money so that I could stay at home and take care of our daughter. This was the kind of life that I had always dreamed of, and I was so happy.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.